right. Welcome to another episode of the Thumb Strong podcast. Today we're going to be talking about why so many people fall into the cycle of starting over and how to break that cycle for good. So maybe you have felt like you're always restarting your fitness journey. Today we want to try to break that cycle and give you some tips on how to stay on track. So the first thing, actually, if we want, we can start with a personal experience or story, maybe something that you've done to help you stay on track to where you're not kind of falling off or starting over. So what would you say is the number one thing that helped you guys before we kind of get into our topic?
Becoming a personal trainer, because you literally can't.
It's our job.
It's my job.
That's not true, though. There's some
No.
trainers that probably don't actually train that much. But
Anyways, something more practical that people can use.
Yeah.
For me, I think it was I became aware of the motivational dips and hills and valleys, you know what I mean? So you're not always going to be motivated. So for me, it was the discipline and giving myself self-discipline, creating an environment around me that's supportive of my goals, and start having a routine in place that carries me through those valleys of motivation. You know what I mean? Because nobody's ever going to be motivated all the time.
Yeah.
So we have to have that safety net of discipline, routine, structure, people around us. That's going to help us get through that.
Yep.
So that's helped me avoid the what you call it, setbacks and fall offs. And
I would just having a game plan of, hey, if this day I'm super busy, I'm just going to do a 20-30 minute workout and call it good, right? And it's not the hour long that I maybe had planned, but just doing something that's 20-30 minutes.
Being adaptable.
To
your
being adaptable
circumstance.
to it, and not being, okay, I can't get my workout in, I'm just not going to do a workout. It's doing 20-30 minutes. Or even if you just don't feel like it that day, if your motivation dips and your energy is low, okay, then I'm just going to do a 20-minute workout, or I'm just going to do a 10-minute mobility routine. I'm going to go for a walk, right? It's still something. And at that point, instead of forcing myself to go through the full workout, I actually feel better just doing a little bit less, but still doing something. Because then it doesn't feel like I'm pushing myself to burning out, doing something that I don't want to do.
I think for me, thinking back to the very beginning, before I was a trainer or anything like that, it was knowing my goals. So setting goals and not just a weight loss goal or something like that, but just, I don't know, having very specific goals that I knew I was only going to reach if I stayed consistent. I knew there's no other way to get to these goals besides doing my workouts. And if I missed a day, I just pick up the next day. And I think the second biggest thing was having somebody to just ask questions to kind of go to for some motivation when maybe you're struggling a little bit, and having accountability with that person. And for me, in the very beginning, that was my mom, because she already was into fitness and stuff. And so, and I could just ask her, is this normal to feel this way? Or I just had all these questions, and she just helped me kind of make sense of everything. So I think those are the two big things, is knowing your goals and having somebody to just go to when life gets hard and things happen and you have setbacks. Someone who can kind of encourage you, just get up the next day or the next week if you're sick for a week or whatever it is.
Yeah.
So those are mine.
Yep. For me, when I'm thinking all the way back when I first started, because I think when everybody first starts, they're chasing some kind of goal or they want some kind of outcome. And what I noticed relatively fast, and when I say relatively fast, this is a couple of years. So not 30 days or anything, but I noticed progress and gains, and I was a 15-year-old kid. So obviously I was able to put on muscle relatively quick. But after a couple of years, it became more about just how I felt.
Mhm.
Like I worked out because
Yeah.
I loved the way it made me feel, not necessarily
Mhm.
always chasing after some kind of aesthetic
Mhm.
goal. But to second what you had said, I have always had somebody to work out with
Mhm.
since 15 years ago.
Mhm.
I got into lifting with my buddies when I went off to college. I lifted with my roommates. I recruited a lot of people to lift with me. When I started the gym here, I've worked out with a number of different members, and now I work out with you guys whenever we get the chance to. Um, and even on the days where you don't have your workout buddy or you don't want to, another thing that's helped keep me going and from falling off track is I just made it a non-negotiable. You know, everybody wakes up with non-negotiables. It's okay, I've got to go to work. I've got to take a shower. I've got to make dinner. I've got to take care of the kids. Like you all have non-negotiables. Make fitness
Mhm.
a non-negotiable. And there are going to be days or weeks where maybe you don't get in all your workouts. Maybe you have 20 minutes instead of an hour. But guess what? You're going to do what you can, and you're going to get back on track when you do have the time or when it's a normal week, for example. So it's just adjusting to the times, making it non-negotiable, and I think having a support system, somebody to do it with, that's what's really helped me keep going for 15 years, essentially,
Mhm.
without really ever stopping for more than a week or two at a time. So that's kind of our little tips. So we'll get into the first thing here. Bethany, if you want to go over this, the kind of the psychology behind inconsistency and why people fall off track.
So once you get started with a goal, you have a little bit of a burst of dopamine, of motivation, because it's something new. It's exciting. You're like, I'm moving towards this goal.
Mhm.
I'm getting into the gym, and it's exciting. It's new. After it's different for everybody, but a lot of people around 21 days after 3 weeks of doing something new, they're just like, kind of fade. It's not as
Yeah.
not as new. It's not as exciting anymore. It's starting to get more real. Life's starting to get busy, right? Or you have unexpected events that kind of derail your progress. And then if people have the all or nothing mentality or mindset, that sets you up for failure, because if you're either 100% on or 100% off, then at some point something's going to come along and push you off track where it's not going to be 100%.
Yep.
And if that's in your mind, oh, that's it, I can't do it anymore, then unfortunately that's where the failure comes in.
Mhm.
You only fail when you quit. Like if you don't quit, then you will never fail at this. So as long as you keep going and doing something, so that's where it comes into, instead of focusing on perfection, focus on sustainability. And so instead of saying, oh, I'm a perfectionist when it comes to this, or I'm all or nothing, it's like focusing on what's sustainable for you, focusing on what you can do, aiming for perfect, if you aim for perfect workouts or a perfect diet, you're going to end up burning out
Mhm.
on that after 3 weeks, 6 weeks. Doesn't matter how much willpower you have, eventually you're going to crack. And so finding out what habits that you can form, that's going to be something that you can do the rest of your life, not something that you can do, oh yeah, I can stick to this for 4 weeks to lose weight. It's like, no, what can you stick to for the rest of your life? What's for the next 4 months, for the next 4 years, and be okay with.
Mhm.
Obviously it's going to ebb and flow for your habits, but that's the biggest thing to focus on, is what's long-term that you can do that's going to help you get results.
100%. Well, I guess with that being said, we can go into, is that all we had on that first part?
Mhm.
We can go right into why consistency beats perfection. So obviously, small, consistent efforts, they compound over time. What matters is not being perfect, but showing up regularly. So instead of trying to hit the gym 6 days a week and eating 100% clean, it's okay, can we make it to the gym 3 days a week? Is that a habit I can stick to for a year, not 30 days, right? So it's just adjusting the dial and kind of ask yourself, like, okay, am I 10 out of 10 confident that I can make it to the gym 6 days a week? And for most people, that's not the case. They're not going to be able to commit to that. So, okay, let's find a number that we are 10 out of 10 confident that we can stick to. And maybe that number is 2 or 3 or 4. Do something that's going to fit into your schedule, be realistic. That's going to help you stay way more consistent. And over the course of a year, that's going to get you so much further because it's compounding over time than the most intense, perfect program in 30 days will ever get you, because you're going to reach that breaking point where I can't do this anymore. It's too hard. You go back to those old habits. All of a sudden, a few months down the road, you're right back where you started, sometimes even worse. So, perfection leads to burnout, kind of like what we were just saying. So focusing on smaller wins. So doing something is always better than doing nothing. Kind of like what Bethany just said. It's like, hey, I don't have time for an hour workout, but I have 20 minutes, and you do what you can in that time. Why short workouts or daily movement still drive progress. So I think personally, it's better to do, if you are somebody that is short on time, doesn't have a lot of extra time to come in and work out for an hour and a half at the gym or anything, it's better to do a 20-minute workout 3, 4, 5 days a week than an hour and a half long workout a couple days a week. Like the small, consistent chunks, the daily movement actually add up to a lot more. I think people get fixated on, probably doesn't help with social media, seeing all these people do crazy workouts and what they're doing and all these programs online and stuff like that. And they think that they have to do that to see really good results. Kind of a funny story, but like my roommates in college and people I knew in college, they would wait to start working out until they got like their supplements in and their protein. They had to have protein in order to work out, or else they weren't going to get results, right? It's like, dude, just work out. It's not that much of a game changer or anything like that. Like, just eat protein, right? So people get fixated on like these programs where they've got to have all these things in place, or else they're not going to get the result that they're looking for. And that's just kind of not really the case. And actually, you've used this as kind of a rule for getting back on track. But it says right here, the real world analogy: compare fitness to brushing your teeth. It's about forming a habit, not achieving an immediate dramatic result. But with that being said, when we run into a time where maybe we forget to brush our teeth, you don't just wake up the next morning and go, oh my God, I can't believe I forgot to brush my teeth. I'm never going to brush my teeth again. I'm just going to give up. It's like, no, you just brush your teeth. Yeah. So if you do hit these roadblocks in your fitness journey, you don't just wake up and quit. You just brush it off. Oh, I forgot to work out, or I didn't get my workout in. It's okay. Just get back on track. So that's another thing, just to keep you going and focusing on the small wins and stuff like that. But
I think the setbacks are honestly very important part of your fitness journey or weight loss journey, because it's in a weight loss journey, setbacks are inevitable, right? You're going to have them, and there's a lot of benefit to learning from them. It's like, okay, depending on what it is, whether it's an injury or this diet isn't working, these foods, whatever you're trying to do isn't working, right? So it's like, okay, cool. Let's go back to the drawing board. That didn't work. Let's find something else. Let's meet up and we'll make another plan. And especially in the fitness industry and like in your weight loss journey, I think it's really hard to, before you start, come up with a perfect plan. That never happens, right? No plan is ever going to go exactly the way you want it to go. Yeah. So embracing those setbacks and being able to learn from them, and then use it almost as like a self data, like self research, like, okay, this is what works for me. Yeah. This is what doesn't. Let's try this A, B, C next. You know what I mean? So
that's important because everybody's different.
Yeah.
That, like, one of my favorite sayings is every obstacle is an opportunity to grow and learn and get better. Every failure is just a lesson. So like, you are going to hit these setbacks, and you can either choose to quit and let it tear you down, or you can look at it as, okay, this didn't work. What can we change or try to see if we can move forward? And people's journeys aren't linear. It's not like you start here and it's just a straight line of progress up. it's very up and down. But when you zoom out on it, you as long as you're consistent, over years, you are going to make progress. It's just a lot of ups and downs in the middle of that. And I've experienced that. I mean, I just actually did a body scan, and I had one of my best body scans in a while. But if you look at my chart, it's body fat percentage up and down, muscle mass up and down, weight up and down. Like, I didn't give up or quit just because I had a bad scan. It was just a different period of training, focusing on different things. I was running for the first time in my whole life, which changed my training a little bit. I had to adjust volume, and that had changed my body composition. So there's always different things that are going to happen. Summertime, there's a lot more camping involved and traveling and probably eating and drinking a little bit worse. So you can expect a little bit of a decline over the summer. But then winter comes around, there's nothing else to do. We hit the gym even harder. And that's where we're going to maybe make some more progress. Or a lot of people, hey, winter's here. I'm going to try to add some muscle. Let's try to get a little bit bigger, and then we'll cut up for the summer, right? So it's always changing.
Yeah.
So it's never a linear progression. You're always going to have those kind of ups and downs.
First person I think of when I think of setbacks is Ben. Ben's had a lot of setbacks.
Yeah.
Shout out Ben. Yeah, man. Yeah, but he's like conspiring. Somebody's conspiring against him not to work out, but he keeps getting back in. Yep. Good for him.
Anything else on that? Okay. Next one.
All or nothing mindset.
Shifting the mindset from the all or nothing to long-term success. So now we'll talk about shifting your mindset to long-term success.
I feel like
you go ahead.
I just feel like this is what kills a lot of people. Like, not kills, but stops a lot of people. Is they
Derails them.
so many people. Yeah, that's a better word. Derails them is they just have that all or nothing mindset. Say you have the flu and you are literally out for a week plus because it happens and there's nothing you can do about it. People think of coming back the next week or two as starting over, where instead you should have the mindset of just picking back up where you left off. Yes, you are going to feel a little bit weaker from being sick. That's normal. It's okay. Give it a few days of getting back, and you'll pick up right where you left off a lot quicker than when you initially started the first time. Even like as I've gone through pregnancy, I remember like coming back after having Wyatt. Yes, I felt like I was completely starting over those first maybe month or two. But then I was able to get back to where I was a lot quicker than when I initially started working out when I was in college. So just shifting the mindset from, you're not starting over, you're just picking back up where you left off. And trying, another thing I like is like trying, if you can control it, to not miss a whole week or not miss 2 workouts in a row. But again, if you're sick, you can't control that. But if it is just something came up and you missed your workout, okay, come back tomorrow and try to go for a walk that day or do 5 minutes of something versus just nothing at all, just moving your body in some way.
Yeah. What I'd like to touch on is the identity part of it. So switching from that all or nothing to long-term success, people that have the long-term success are people who identify as active people. And they're more likely to maintain those long-term exercise habits than those who simply set a goal or a fitness goal or just want to start working out more, right? So with that, how do you change your identity? You change what you say to yourself. So instead of saying, I have to work out today, you can say, I am someone who works out, or I'm an active person. I work out. And by changing what you say around that, it's going to shift your identity. Have you guys watched the movie Hitman with Glenn Powell at all?
I think I have, but it's been a long
You might have.
time. Nope.
Okay. So it's a fairly recent movie. What happened was he was this professor, mild-mannered, ended up becoming a fake hitman for hire to weed out bad guys for the cops, right? Well, he took on this different persona as the hitman, and it was just like this confident, suave guy, right? Like completely different than the other. And he actually talked about it because he taught psychology, was how they start the in the ego starts to mesh a little bit. And if you fake it till you make it,
Mhm.
or you act in a certain way, you will then become that person.
Mhm.
Like if you want to act like, hey, what's the best version of Caitlin going to do today? What's think of like the best version of you that's the healthiest you, the one that's at the fitness level that you want. What's that version of you? And then pretend to be that person. And if you can pretend long enough, you'll eventually be that person.
Yep.
Because eventually that just, you've pretended so long that it's just now you.
Mhm.
So you can change that of saying, oh, I'm an awkward, even something like that. Say, oh, I'm an awkward person, or I don't, I'm not great with people, or something like that. And if you keep telling yourself that, you're going to continue being that.
Mhm.
But if you just start saying, I'm a confident person, it's like, what would a confident version of me do? What would a confident person do? What would this person do? And then you do that. And then when you do that, it reinforces it.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
you can change your whole identity just from that.
Yeah. And then you like to talk about the soft talk words a lot, and like people will say, "Oh, I'm going to try to work out. I'm going to try this new, eating healthier." And when you say that, you're setting yourself up for failure, because basically, if you don't follow through, there's no repercussion, because you just said, "I'm going to try to do it." Whereas if you said, "I am going to do it," you're way more likely to actually follow through.
Mhm.
Because when you say I'll try, it's basically you're okay if you don't do it,
Mhm.
because you're convincing yourself that you're going to give it a shot. But if you don't do it, you're really not beating yourself up. So it's just like the words that you say make a huge impact on the result and the consistency that you have. So, anything else on that part of it? Okay. We can get into the strategies, kind of the actionable items that you guys can take away from this. We can each do one if you guys want. So, first one, set realistic, achievable goals. So, like I was saying earlier, instead of saying, "Hey, I'm going to work out 6 days a week for an hour," hey, let's start with 3 and build from there. With all of our training clients, all of our sessions are between 30 and 60 minutes. So it's not like you have to be in the gym for 2 hours every day to see great results. So, hey, let's start with 3 for maybe a half hour, 45 minutes, or an hour, and build from there over time. The key is just to maintain that momentum. So, number 2.
I'll go.
Okay.
Establish a non-negotiable baseline habit. So choose a habit, whether that's going for a 10-minute walk, eating protein with each meal, and the baseline would be I'm going to do that 4 days a week for a month. You know what I mean? And so that is non-negotiable, means that you have to do it. Basically, you can't negotiate yourself out of it.
Yeah.
I guess what that
Well,
means,
non-negotiable for me, for example, I would say for 15 years it's been 5 workouts a week.
Yeah.
It's kind of been a non-negotiable, even if it, like today, it was more of an active recovery day. We did a little bit of shoulders. I did maybe like 25 minutes of shoulders and arms, and then we did a 13-minute circuit. So in 45 minutes, we got a little circuit in, shoulders and arms. So we got something done. Wasn't as much volume as normal, but my non-negotiable, I would say at least 4, if not 5 workouts a week. That's been a non-negotiable of mine. So find what your non-negotiable habit would be. Start small, something that you know you can do, even if it takes you 5 minutes or 10 minutes, and then build from there. Next one.
Planning for setbacks, because they will happen. So kind of like I said earlier, you can say like, okay, if you miss 1 workout, your rule is to never miss 2 workouts. Again, as long as you're not sick or whatever, on vacation, whatever it is. But if you can control it, have a plan. This next one I really like, because I feel like it is my life. It's having a plan B workout when life gets crazy. That's been my winter, is I haven't been able to come to the gym as much as I would like to, or as much as I'm used to. But I always have another plan for just a quick at-home circuit, sometimes body weight. I also have dumbbells that I can use, or at least getting out for a walk. So, there's last minute times when I'm not able to make it into the gym, and I could easily say, oh, darn, I guess I'm just going to sit around and not work out today. But no, I have a plan. I have a backup plan, and I do something at home or outside, whatever it is.
Perfect. Sweet. Next, make it enjoyable and find some accountability. So, studies show people who work out with a partner are 45% more likely to stay consistent.
Mm-hmm. That's a lot.
Case in point, always works out with other people, more consistent. When I came here and started working out with other people, makes you way more consistent. It's easier to show up, especially with running. For example, for me, I would not go out and run 13 miles on my own. But if somebody is there expecting me, like, hey, we're going to be here at this time, we're going to go do this workout, we're going to go run, I will be there.
Mm-hmm.
And so having that accountability to somebody helps.
And it makes it so much more fun when
That's
you
true.
work out with other people too.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
For sure.
Yeah, that's where the enjoyable part of it. So also don't do things that you hate.
Yeah.
Because you're not going to be looking forward to it. So if you absolutely hate doing cardio on the treadmill, don't do cardio on the treadmill.
Yeah.
Do something else, right? Find stuff that you enjoy. And like, obviously there will be days where you don't enjoy it. That's
There-
okay.
And if you hate everything, here's the thing.
That might be a bigger problem.
You can, well, here's what I would say. There's a couple things to it. So, one is when you do something long enough, you will definitely hate it less or end up liking it. A great example is the burpee. Everybody I've ever trained in my whole life hated burpees when they started.
Yeah.
And now hardly anybody actually complains about them. There's still a handful of people that dread doing burpees, but a lot of people have done them so many times that they've gotten used to them. They're so much easier. They don't really mind doing the burpee anymore.
You're not excited about it, but you're
right.
like,
You're like,
it's burpees.
I can do it. I've done
Here,
it before.
and then and then here's the other thing I will say is when you do something that's really hard that you don't want to do, that's where you build the mental toughness and mental resilience that leads into so many other things in your life that make other stuff easier. So if right now your job's really stressful, your home life's really stressful, that stuff you'll be able to actually handle easier when you do hard things that you don't want to do. So I will just want to point that out because if right now it's like, oh man, I hate doing cardio. The more you do it, the easier it'll get, the less dreadful it'll become, and it'll make you mentally tougher. So keep that in mind.
Yeah.
Positive thinking. Last thing is track your progress and celebrate wins. So even the small wins, like drinking more water throughout the week, maybe you had an extra glass of water every day. Celebrate that win. Recognize that you did this habit all week long. Showing up to the gym 3 times a week should be recognized. So if you've never worked out before, or maybe you're doing 2 days and you go to 3 days, hey, celebrate the win that you got in 3 workouts, right? Track your stats, keep track of your measurements on whatever your goal is, and recognize those wins. And also you can use it as a tool to see what your next goal might be or making adjustments to your plan. Like right now, DeLorean, you're training for a marathon. So you're probably tracking some runs, like you have a plan, you have a schedule. Tell us a little bit about like kind of that process and how it's helping you having some sort of plan written out with progressions on your running and how that might help you, keep progressing and stay accountable to it.
Well, with it in front of me, it's written out, right? And I can't really look forward, but it's written out. So that means in my head that I have to do that, right? Like if it's not written out, I might just kind of like, I don't know, adjust it mid-run, I guess.
Do a few miles because I'm tired.
Yeah, you get like
Instead
halfway
of-
done. You're like, that's probably all right, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Maybe.
and it's not also like I didn't create it either. So it's in my head. It's like, okay, these guys know what they're doing, right? It's the Nike Run Club app, and it's already on there. It's good to go. Like I just do 3 of the runs a week, and so it's pretty manageable. So the structure just helps.
Yeah, I would say that's a huge thing that we really didn't touch on though is having a program to follow. like even us, we follow programming. I mean, I get a program and I make modifications to it, but we've always followed some sort of programming because you show up and you're like, I don't really feel like doing this, or I don't know what to do today. But if you have a program that's already set for the week and you show up, you're way more like, okay, I got to do that, I got to do this, and then you're logging it. What's cool about our program is like we have the leaderboard on there. Everybody can see what everybody got, so that kind of motivates people to do it. Motivates me to do it.
Yeah.
I'm competing with Bill and Mickey and all
Yeah.
those guys all the time, and it's fun. So I would definitely make sure you're tracking your progress, track your workouts, celebrate all the wins. That's going to be huge. So, kind of the final takeaway is everybody struggles with consistency at some point. The key is just to shift that mindset from the perfectionism to just persistence and trying to stay as consistent as possible, adjusting the dial, what I like to say. So you're not going to be at a 10 out of 10 all the time. You might be adjusting it between a 3 and an 8, throughout the year. But the key is to not ever stop completely for more than, I would say, a couple weeks at a time. Once you get past a couple weeks, it's really hard to get back on track. However, once you've built a baseline, it is easier to get that, to make the progress back after you've already been consistent for some time. So, what's one small habit that you could commit to today to start making progress? If you can, please share the episode, like it, subscribe. That way you can see all of our future episodes. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out and let us know what you have questions about. And until next time, stay healthy. We'll see you guys soon.